Hi, welcome to our show on money, freedom, and the feminine principles of attracting wealth. Why can't it be easier? You have done everything right, you did the job, you did the career, the education, you sacrificed, you struggled, and it's still not what you were hoping for. The freedom that you were working for, perhaps, the financial flow, and the satisfaction in life are still not exactly where you want them to. And yes, you climbed the corporate ladder, you achieved amazing things, and you have perhaps reached a point where at 40 or past 40, you're ready for something more. Well, let me tell you a quick story, because I found myself at that juncture and I felt stuck. Perhaps you feel stuck. No matter how much you do, it doesn't seem to be enough. And on one ear you hear the gurus, like the Gary V's, the Goggins, even the Dave Ramsey's, do more, save more, push harder, struggle harder, all the masculine ways of achieving. And nothing wrong against it, perhaps, though at this point in your life, that no longer serves you. And perhaps you look back and realize it hasn't served you in a long time. I know women who have sacrificed the family for their career. And of course, many have sacrificed their health and well-being. I know of many who were standing all day long in the courtroom and other places and literally had major health problems as a result of pushing harder, working harder, driving themselves harder. And on the other ear, all of you have heard of the law of attraction gurus. Just think positive, ferret out those pesky money blocks, then diffuse them and do enough affirmations to attract wealth and freedom and all you desire to yourself. But with all that, perhaps you're stuck between a rock and a hard place and you want more. And you wonder, why can't it be easy? I felt myself in that situation. I've done the academic route to master's, a PhD professor at UCLA and at Pepperdine in Malibu. I stood at the stage at the Princess Grace Theatre in Monte Carlo as a judge on the jury of the Monte Carlo Film Festival and many other film festivals, red carpet appearance included. I learned how to put on a big smile and pose, something I was not naturally made for. I learned how to speak in front of large crowds and become a public speaker and of course professor at the university. But financially, that just didn't cut it. So on the side, almost I stumbled onto making a multi-seven-figure business in real estate. And what seemed like fun, because I understood houses, I understood space and how to remodel it for the least amount of investment, soon also became a grind with struggling with city permits, tenants, and so much more legal situations. And what had been once fun became difficult in many ways. And yet I was able to make money. But another thing you also might find, whether you're in corporate or in having your own business like I did, or your own brand, there seems to be a flow of money where all of a sudden it seems easy and perhaps large amounts of cash injections come in, and then there is a drought. And it's almost like it's outside your own capability to recreate it. It's as though you are at the mercy of outside forces, unless, of course, There you hear Gary Vee again, struggle harder, push harder to the brink of exhaustion and beyond. And on the other side, just you are not thinking positive enough, the law of attraction gurus. What I found out is that there's another way. I almost stumbled across it by accident because, you see, I was teaching cinema for a long time, and the Hollywood formula of driving success and creating blockbuster films had become second nature to me. I understood the importance of having strong heroes and heroines and strong formulas or genres. There's the Western, there's the action film, there's the romantic comedy. And if you're a romantic comedy heroine, you may not do too well in a Western unless it's a Western comedy. And I found out the same is true for us as individuals. It feels so hard because we often kick against, struggle against our own innate abilities. And then sometimes it seems easy and we don't necessarily even know why, because all of a sudden we are on that flow where we are in our own movie, so to say. We are activating our own strengths. For instance, for me, it was easy and fun to learn and write, scholarly articles and a dissertation and connect to my students. But playing the corporate game or academic kind of schmoozing and wrangling for position never was my thing. Well, I found out later that's because, in part, I'm an archetype that's a maverick, and mavericks always go their own ways. I also found two other archetypes that work for me. And the interesting thing is, all of a sudden, things became easy. Things clicked into place. I realized where I had gone wrong and where I could do better. And no, diffusing money blocks was no longer part and parcel of the solution. Instead, once I figured out what archetypes worked for me, the blind spots became clear anyway. It was like shedding light on it without having to ferret out your psychology from childhood and this trauma and that trauma, and then diffuse it, which for me never worked, and perhaps for you neither, where you come up, there's a blind spot, but a money block. But even if you know about it, it may not necessarily be conducive to creating a better life for yourself. But with the money archetypes, you can find out what's a natural blind spot and accept it, because you have strengths and blind spots. And instead of struggling against the blind spots, once you know where they are, you can swiftly sidestep them and use your energy to develop your strengths. And that is actually a secret that very few people know, and what the money gurus can tell you and the law of attraction mentors usually don't know. So what is an area of yours that you feel stuck currently? In school and career, they often give you aptitude tests that tell you where your strengths are, but we rarely, if ever, get a wealth aptitude test. My dog is agreeing, because that's actually a far more important aspect of our lives, where we are particularly apt at making money. And that's not necessarily a career choice. For instance, someone who's a natural archetype of the connector can be anywhere from being an MC in a show to a therapist who connects deeply one-on-one to the person they're facilitating the therapy to. So it's not a career choice, it goes much deeper. And yet we are left practically unprepared for that in life. I wish I had known it much earlier, because I was always someone who could not follow the corporate, the expected route, and yet I blamed myself for it. There are some areas where currently you're blaming yourself, even though instead of blaming, that's a natural blind spot for you, a natural area that's not your area of expertise, and don't even worry about it and don't try and diffuse it. Instead, look at the road ahead where your aptitude is. Instead, we tend to blame ourselves, that somehow there's something wrong with us, that somehow we missed the opportunity or missed the boat, that we didn't try hard enough, or we tried very hard but at the expense of our private life or of our health and other parts that we enjoyment in life. What if it wasn't too late, and what if it didn't have to be so hard? What if there was a tailor-made system for you? So instead of forcing yourself or trying harder one way or another, there's another way that you can follow. Once I figured this out, it was as though a massive battle had fallen off me, because much during my earlier career in academia, in cinema and Hollywood and real estate, it felt like as though every day I had to go into battle. And yes, there were triumphs, but it left me exhausted, and the armor of the battle felt heavy. And it's not just all about money, but also about the freedom money brings us. So get out of the cage, get out of the armor that you have put yourself on and put on yourself, and take a more easy road for yourself. And money actually is, because it has a bad rap for some people, but even if you want to do good in the world, and the nurturer archetype are mostly driven by social improvement, social parameters, wanting to make the world better for all of us. And it has such an important role. Politicians also can, not always, can be amongst that type. But even for that type, money is essential. Think of Mother Teresa. She was able to magnetize massive amounts of money to herself. You cannot help others by joining the poor. You can help others by making money, and in doing so also become a role model for others in terms of that you can enjoy life and that you can make money at the same time. You don't have to self-sacrifice. And how important is it for women nowadays, and especially for women over 40 and over 50 and beyond, when in the past it seemed like we worked, we created a family or whatever was the regular path for many of us, and now we basically just coasted along waiting for life to go on without us. In reality, I think the real feminine revolution is happening right now for women over 40. The untapped potential is astronomical, and we no longer accept to just sit and push ourselves to the brink of exhaustion. So when I found out about the money archetypes, again, it's similar to the movies. If you are in a Western or in an action film or a musical, you literally are in a different universe than if you were into a romantic comedy. Once you find out what your money archetype is, things become easy. And I have a quiz that is so revelatory, a quiz that gives you so much insight by pinpointing your archetype, money archetype, but the money archetype spills over in all areas and aspects of our lives. Because how we do one thing is how we do everything. What comes to us easy in terms of making money spills over in our relationships, spills over in our communication, spills over into how we approach life, how we enjoy life, how we can speak and communicate and reach our clients and customers. So many of us are business owners, and it becomes a way to actually self-actualize. So the money archetypes, yes, it's about money. Yes, it's about freedom. Yes, it's about creating your best version of yourself, but it's also a self-development tool. It's almost like a manual where you can look and see some of your inner mechanisms that have always been there, but you may not have been aware of. Many of you know I'm a Christian, and I believe God indeed has created every one of us for success, and it's time to tap into that abundance that's everywhere, that we have kept ourselves from, either financial flow, financial abundance, time, freedom, or self-fulfillment. But our Creator doesn't want us to cut ourselves back, to hem ourselves in, to put ourselves in a box. Instead, we are supposed to flourish in all areas of our lives. And yes, it's supposed to be easy and fun. And so if you want to take the quiz, there's a link below. I also make available my ebook, a playbook, that gives you a lot of information on the different archetypes, how they tick, what makes them tick, what makes them run, and to understand some of these inner mechanisms more clearly, and see your blind spots so you no longer have to struggle against them or fall into them. And it also improves your communication, because I call it speak your money love language. We've all heard about the love languages. Some people need to be told, oh, I love you. Some people need to be shown it by being given gifts or beautiful vacations. Others need acts of service, like taking out the trash, to make them feel loved. Very few, if any, know there's a money love language. So in the ebook, I go into quite a detail in terms of the money love language we each speak. Let me give you an example, since I also am in real estate. Let's say a couple wants to buy a house, a beautiful house, and she, being the archetype of the celebrity, wants a house to receive guests, to represent, to have flashy events and gala dinners. And he, being an accumulator who wants to save money, he wants a good investment. So there could be a major clash in a lot of relationships, whether it's romantic relationships or business relationships, go down because of money miscommunication. They don't see eye to eye when it comes to money. They think the other person is selfish. Let's say the accumulator thinks, oh, his wife is lavishly, frivolous with money and with buying a house that's stately and impressive, but where the plumbing doesn't work. While she thinks he is curtailing her, he doesn't allow her to shine who she really is, that he always thinks money first and her second. Voila, the formula for a potential divorce over a house. So once you know, as a real estate agent, or if you're one of the partners, to know your partner's money love language, you can create a compromise. In this case scenario, let's say he realizes she's a celebrity, but she can make money with that. Let's say she's a local news anchor or politician, and by inviting people to her home, representing and being a gracious hostess in a beautiful house, she actually can make the life better for both of them by creating money, by creating prestige, by furthering her career in a way that's conducive to her. While he wants to have long-term investments